St Mary's of Kensworth. We've been here before, so I won't linger. It's just the starting point of a little local walk I want to do. Now it's chucking it down with rain, so in order not to destroy my camera, I've foregone my walking stick in favour of a brolly. We'll see how that goes, because I'm going to be walking on wet chalk. But now, there are, in this area where we've got quarries, chalk pits, there are lots of lost hills, like Hunger Hill, Puddle Hill, in Tottenham and Houghton Regis. But it turns out that Kensworth also has a lost hill, and it used to be known as Mount Pleasant. Now this footpath should take us up to the end of up to the edge of Kensworth Quarry, and it skirts pretty much all the way around it. Go in either direction, but I'm going to head, where am I heading? Sort of westish towards northwest, towards Dunstable Downs. One sec, this ain't easy with a brolly. That's better. Now, yeah, I'm heading in the direction of Dunstable Downs, where there used to be a second peak, this Mount Pleasant, and it wasn't until actually quite recently that it disappeared. The most recent map I've seen that still has it on there was from 1946, and I've got that map loaded up on my tablet, so when we get back to the dry of the car, I'm going to get that and my OS map out and show you a few things. It doesn't seem that there was anything there in recent times, because I've seen maps going back to the 1860s, and all it shows is an empty little peak, an empty little hilltop, with a footpath running through it from Kensworth to Dunstable. Something else I'm going to show you on the old map, because that's very interesting. There are still remnants of that ancient pathway, and I know where they are. But in Neolithic times, there was definitely activity here, because they've dug up a hell of a lot in these surrounding fields, and also in the quarry itself over there. This will be my left-hand turn for the quarry. Now I've been doing a bit of sleuthing with this one, trying to determine exactly when Mount Pleasant disappeared. I suppose really what I ought to find out is when Kensworth Quarry came into operation. Definitely sometime after 1946. But looking at the map, if you read the contours, which are spaced at 5 metre lengths, 5 metre distances, you can see from that 1946 OS map that Mount Pleasant appears to only have been about 2 or 3 metres lower than the very highest point at Dunstable Downs, and you would have had a little set of twin peaks there. Looking at the modern OS map, it looks as though just off the footpath, but outside the boundaries of the quarry fence, there's a little bit that rises up to, I think it says about 200 and, well, it shows about 210 metres on the OS map. But then if you count the contours beyond that on the old map, you can see it really does rival the top of Dunstable Downs. That's what I'm hoping to find, that little bank just off the pathway, and outside the boundary of the quarry. This is looking about right. Definitely. Okay. I was hoping to be on the allotment today. I was really hanging on for good weather. Alas, that didn't happen. And I was so dead set on getting up the allotment, I didn't have a plan B. So I just started looking at the map this morning and thinking, where's nice and nearby, where I'm not going to have to get completely soaked, that's got a little bit of interest going on. And I remembered that I'd stumbled across these old maps showing Mount Pleasant, which is this bank behind us, is what's left of it, the very bottom bit of it, and it looks to me as though it's somewhere around here. Yeah, we're starting to go downhill again. If you look behind me down there, if I continue, that's going back downhill. This seems to be just about the peak, where it's currently at about 210, 220 metres, something like that, but it used to be much higher. I'm going to continue walking a little bit anyway, just because I've not been along here before. Yeah, looking around, this is definitely the highest bit of what's left, just what's next to me there on the pathway. I wonder if we might be able to just sneaky peek the top of Dunstable Downs if we continue a little bit further, although I'm aware we are actually going down into a little dip here between the two hills, so we might not get to see it. That bit of Kensworth back there, where the church is, that's actually the original Kensworth, down in the Domesday Book as Kenswood. Anybody local might well know of Kenswood Road, which used to follow an old which sits at the bottom of what used to be an old footpath up to Kensworth or Kenswood. Just means the settlement of a man called Cain, basically. But that bit back there where the village is now, I think it's called Church End these days, you know, a little tiny tucked away corner at the end of some very windy, muddy lanes. That used to be the main Kensworth. Let's see, no, I'm not going to keep going. That's quite a long way to go round to the Dunstable Downs, to be honest. I'm going to continue back along the way I came, where I turned left to come in here. I'm just going to continue straight on, because it does follow the quarry for quite a long way, all around the top of it. It'd just be nice to find a bit of it somewhere where I can give you a bit of a view as to how huge that quarry is. It is absolutely enormous. Biggest one I've seen round here, probably the biggest one I've ever seen. It obviously started off, being quite a recent one, it obviously started off full on industrial heavy machinery. Whereas a lot of the others, Sundon Pit and Houghton Pit, there were historical little quarries going on there already, and then they got mechanised, you know. It seems as though this Kensworth quarry was just all out from the word go. And like Puddle Hill and Hunger Hill, they didn't just stop digging when they dug the hill itself away. They dug and dug and dug way down beneath where the hill used to be. Right, if I do a left just up here, we might get to see the enormous hole that is Kensworth Quarry. There it is. I'm not sure if the camera's going to quite do that justice or not, but it is absolutely enormous. Last time I got a little peek through the hedges on one of the ancient trackway walks I did and filmed. You could actually see a few of the big earth movers on those terraces you can see down there. I mean, yeah, actually, to give you an idea, those what look like little strips on the side of the hill, they're actually deep and wide enough to take those enormous great big off-road earth movers up and down the side of the quarry. It's huge. Now, I've never actually been to this particular spot before, and it looks to me, by going down here, we're doubling back on ourselves. Back towards where I just stood at the bottom of the little bank and said, this looks like the point where it looks like it's marked as 210 metres on the map. Well, it's this bit here. Let's see. You can just about make out the farmer's water tower there that sits in the field at the top of Dunstable Downs. That's what's currently the highest point. at, I think, 243 metres. We're currently standing at about 210. And there used to be another 30 metres of hill just next to us there to rival the downs. We're still going upwards a little bit to get to the highest remaining bit of the bottom of Mount Pleasant. Getting very close. Look, just peeking about there, look. That spot right there, look, there you go. That's what's left of the bottom of the hill. Of course, this bit I'm actually walking on is a more modern pathway cut in. I mean, where I'm standing now, we would have been under quite a few feet of earth. There you go, that's the highest bit that's left. And behind me, that enormous quarry. If you look over there, you can see the signs of it being rewilded. They're probably intending it being a nature reserve. You can see, there you go, they've got all those young trees with a bit of deer protection around them. Very intentional. That'll be a nature reserve one day. And actually down the very far end there, around the corner, which you can't see from here, it is already a nature reserve down that end. You can go in there. It's not much going on, it looks a lot like what you can see ahead of you there. But it's been started. It'll be a long one day. What a massive site. Okay, let's get back to the car. And I'm going to show you some interesting things on the map. I don't know if you just heard that. Boop boop. That's the train over at Whipsnade Zoo. I know you can hear the aeroplanes. That's Luton Airport, which is just over on the top of that hill, the other side of the Ver Valley there. Nearly back, lots to show you. Did you hear it that time? I hope you did. It's a nice old mixture of local flint and Tottenham clunge. And just to cement its worth as a proper ancient church, there's its obligatory yew tree. Where did I bury those acorns? I can't remember where I hid them. Grrr. Right. Right, here we go now. Here's the top of Dunstable Downs. Here's modern Kensworth. And here's what's now Church End, where I am at the moment, the old original bit of Kensworth. Now if you look just here between Church End and the golf course and Dunstable Downs, here's Mount Pleasant. This is from a 1946 map. Still sitting there, and that peak, hang on, I've lost it, there we are. That peak there was barely just a few metres lower than the highest point at Dunstable Downs, which is just here. Now to expand on this map a little bit, let me just show you, here's the modern OS map, and here it shows, right, here's the quarry, here's the church where I am at the moment, and if you look on here it shows on the contours 210 metres. Now that's where we were. Do you remember we walked along the public footpath, the tree bit, and it was on our right, that bank, And then we came back and doubled on ourselves, and we walked along what isn't actually a public footpath, but what is accessible. And we stopped right there, didn't we? On that little bend. That's the highest remaining bit that we were just stood at. Now, over to the other OS map. Here we go. That shows you a bit more clearly, because it's not right on the edge of the map, how big the pit is, how big Kensworth Quarry is. It's enormous. There's the top of Dunstable Downs. Here's the church. And actually, if you look at this, you can really clearly trace that ancient trackway that I've walked along bits of quite a few times. It comes up, where are we? Where's Markyate? It comes up here from Markyate. This is the modern Watling Street. That's the main Roman road that goes through the valley between the hills on either side. The proper ancient route didn't do that. It skirted up along the hilltops, and it took in all the ancient sites like the Five Knolls here and Maiden Bower down here. You can see where it branched off at Markyate. It came across the fields. It joined up with, for a short stretch with, this is roughly, who knows exactly where it was, a few metres either way, but it came up here on Lynch Hill, and then came along these little lanes to the church, and it would have come past Mount Pleasant, along the top of the downs, past the Five Knolls, the burial mounds, and down to the old encampment down here at Maiden Bower. So it's no wonder that when they started digging that chalk pit out, they found a lot of Neolithic bits and pieces. Now there's a lot of Neolithic and Bronze Age are the two main ones I think that have been found in Kensworth, but there's a lot of stuff been dug up in Kensworth. But specific to the quarry there, it says here, at the chalk quarry at Mount Pleasant in the northwest of the parish, a variety of Neolithic implements have been found scattered. They included a leaf-shaped arrowhead, an axe, and a small quantity of flint flakes. Another axe head was found at a location at a different date. A Neolithic axe head was found northeast of the clubhouse of Dunstable Golf Club, which is just the other side of the quarry. There you go. Lots of stuff's been found, and it does make you wonder, doesn't it, what settlements or whatever might have been destroyed when they started digging that quarry. They found all sorts at Houghton, didn't they? There's a video on that if you want to go and see it. Just before I go, I want to tell you about a genuinely good little freebie that I got this week. That doesn't happen often. This is a good freebie that I got. I bought 2 new OS maps because I'm swapping my Ranger maps over to Explorer maps. So I ordered 2 weatherproof Explorer maps, which came at just over 30 quid. And that day they were doing a special offer where if you spend over 30 quid you get to choose a free gift. And I chose a dry bag. Nice big dry bag. I didn't own one previously, I've never had one. But ideal for putting my camera and my tablet in and wrapping it all up inside my bag when I'm out walking. It's one of the proper, you know, fold over and clippy type ones. And it was listed on the Ordnance Survey website at $17.99 or $18.99. So that's a genuinely good freebie, which doesn't happen often. I'm well pleased with that. Right, I hope you enjoyed the walk. Just a little short one. Plan B because of the weather. But it certainly satisfied my curiosity about Mount Pleasant, being able to see exactly where it's sat and what's left of it. Yeah, another example of one of our little local hills that got quarried away to nothing. Okay, see you soon. Take care. I very nearly forgot one little last nugget for the locals. You know, I mentioned that there was this footpath. Not the footpath that takes in the ancient sites, the footpath that goes from Mount Pleasant across what's now the quarry down to Dunstable. Now this little bit here is the interesting bit. It goes along the bottom of Blows Downs. This is what's now Half Moon Lane, and if you know Dunstable, just opposite the end of Half Moon Lane there's a little track that goes up. That's still there. This little bit is actually still there, and this has become Half Moon Lane, and it leads to all the chalk pits that we visited at the bottom of Blows Downs, where I found those unexpected kilns and a possible dogging spot. Now if you follow this old track that comes up to Mount Pleasant from Dunstable, from the end of Half Moon Lane, it comes up what still exists and then joins what's kind of now, this would be Lowther Road and the Old Hill Estate where I grew up. So there is an old track that came from Mount Pleasant, from Kensworth through Mount Pleasant, down into Dunstable, and then over to the chalk pits and the kilns at the bottom of Blows Downs. That's a bit geeky, that one. That's one for the locals. But because I still know this little bit, and I'm sure many of you do, I thought it might be quite interesting. Or not.